Chadwick, I believe, asked, Republicans for a balanced budget amendment. The debt ceiling vote will come up. Why don't you simply not raise the debt ceiling limit? Isn't this the same as a balanced budget?
Well, I don't think that you will see any of us going to raise the debt ceiling again. Look, I'll be very honest. I wanted to give Washington, D.C. an opportunity to work. I looked at what happened back last August, and I figured it was a 70 to 75% solution. I never really believed that that super committee thing would work, because I think there are some people on the other side that went in with some very hardline stances. They did not want to see the right things happen as far as, how do we reduce the size and scope of government. But the most important thing, we're not going to turn around in one election cycle, in 2 years or 4 years. But at least we need to have a glide path. At least we need to have a vision how we're going to get the financial situation in the United States of America balanced. How we're going to get this situation on the right footing. And it has to start with reducing the size and scope of the federal government, the spending that is coming out of Washington, D.C., and that's the most important thing that we have to do. And as I said earlier, the last time we had welfare reform was a Democrat president. The last time we did cut back on government agencies and programs was a Democrat president. So this is not a partisan issue. This is a common sense American issue. We just need to have willing partners on the other side that will meet us on that battlefield.
I thought this one came from my mother, but it's actually from Brian Blessey, but Mom would have asked it anyways. A lot of your slide up there showed spending on Medicare and Medicaid. What changes do you think should be made to Medicare and Medicaid?
Well, as you know, first of all, I don't think that we should have $575 billion of cuts to Medicare, and that's something that's part of patient protection for care. So let's be very honest. The average American is paying in about $110,000, $115,000 in Medicare, but they're getting back closer to $300,000 in benefits. That's a problem. We've got to clean up that system. Now, what Paul Ryan and the House GOP has introduced is a premium support plan. It gives you an option. If you want to stay on traditional Medicare, you can stay on traditional Medicare. If you want to go out there and have insurance companies that compete for you, then you can do that. But to do nothing means that it's not going to be there. Now, the other thing is, South Florida is ground zero for fraud and abuse in Medicare. And that's something we've got to clean up. There's hundreds of billions of dollars in cleaning up the fraud and abuse in Medicare. We've got to have some type of plan that gets that Medicare spending under control.
You mentioned the Ryan budget. Fred Schiebel from Palm Beach Gardens says that Senator Rand Paul has said that the Ryan budget does not go far enough and takes too long to balance the budget, with about $5 trillion in cuts in 5 years. What's your view of the Ryan budget, and what do you think will be the final budget?
Well, I don't think there will be a budget this year, because the one that passed in the House, the Senate's not going to take up, and that's the sad state of affairs. Now, we can be very austere, and we can try to make the budget balance in sooner years. One of the things that came up, and I voted for this budget plan, was the Republican Study Committee, which is the conservative branch of the GOP in the House. And what they did was they froze federal government spending at 2008 levels. And in freezing federal government spending at 2008 levels, we would end up having a balanced budget within 8 to 9 years. With the Ryan House GOP approved budget, it goes out to, I believe, with 15 to 16 years before it balances. So it really is all about, how close do we want to start cutting our federal government size, scope, and spending. Now, we can sit up here and try to do it right now on the dime. I don't want to spend the American government and spend the American people on the dime right now. I do not want to see us implement, really austere, damaging, measures and things of that nature. I want us to be smart about it. And I thought that the RSC budget, which held us at 2008 level, was a good plan. It did not pass the House, and so then I voted for the Ryan budget plan. It came out of the Budget Committee for the House GOP. But we have got to at least balance the budget. Unfortunately, President Obama's budget and the Democrat budget that was brought up raises a whole bunch of taxes, but it never balances. So what's the point of raising taxes on the American people if your end state is that you're never going to balance the budget?
Let me ask a political question, sir. Your name has been mentioned as a potential nominee for vice president. Lyndon Johnson had the chance to run for re-election to the Senate and for vice president at the same time, but I don't think Florida gives you that choice. Would you choose, if your nominee for president asked you, would you choose to run for vice president rather than for re-election?
First of all, nobody's going to ask me. Okay, and the thing is that, look, those of you who know me know that 5 years ago, I was in the desert of Kandahar, Afghanistan. And some people sent me an email and asked me when I came back would I consider doing this. Anytime the American people or your country asks you to step up to the plate and try to serve, being in a camouflage uniform, a suit and tie, if you truly believe in the fundamental principles and values of this republic, you're going to step up and do it. Now, if someone decides they want to call and ask me to run beside them, first place I go is to my knees. And I got to pray about it. And the second place I go, I'm still on my knees. I'm asking permission of my wife. And then we'll go from there. But if this country asks me to step up, I will step up and serve this country.
Lisa from West Palm Beach asked via Facebook, when a homeowner's insurance and property taxes are more than their mortgage payment, do you support Florida homeowners crossing state lines to obtain homeowners insurance in order to meet their needs?
Well, it's just the same with healthcare insurance. I mean, I believe that we need to open up the competition and stop having state-by-state mini monopolies. And when you look at Citizens, for example, this was supposed to be a government insurance program of last resort. And the next thing you know, due to undue competition, whatever, Citizens becomes the insurance program of first resort. And now it has taken away the competition thereof. So I think that, when government gets engaged and gets involved in a free market, excuse it. And that's the thing that we have to do. So yes, I will look for any means by which we can, reduce costs by implementing competition out there amongst the private sector companies, especially insurance companies.
Lowell Levine asks, why does the United States need 850 bases around the world that cost $1 trillion?
Lowell, good question. And I will tell you that is a relic of a Cold War era mentality. And I think that we have to move away from what we really tried to have, which was a forward deployed military, into a power projection type of military. Because that's kind of an antiquated thought. And it really does cost a lot of resources and things of that nature. And that's why I think one of the key things we must do is strengthen our maritime forces. A little tidbit, a lot of people don't realize that the Army actually has more amphibious landing and assault than the United States Marine Corps. So the Army is used to being on sea, on ships. So that's something that we need to start looking at. How do we truly become a joint force? How do we truly project the power of the United States of America all across this globe? How do we look at engaging the enemy and denying him sanctuaries, especially understanding the littorals, where sea meets land? So yes, I believe that we need to start looking at moving away from those forward deployed bases. We need to move away from the Cold War era mentality and develop a United States military that knows how to engage, deter, and strike. And it's going to require people that understand the tactical level to be able to come up with the right strategic level goals and objectives.
Two related questions, one from Destiny DeJesus of Oakland Park. Why don't you support women's reproductive health care? And Marcia Halpern asks, why do you support legislation that is bad for women's health?
Well, I consider the fact that I've been married for 23 years and I have 2 daughters. I definitely promote their health care. Now, if you're asking me, why do I not support abortion as a means of birth control? I'm not. I do understand that in the terms of rape, incest, or the true threat of life to a young woman, that I do support her making that decision. And that's something I've talked over with my wife and my 2 daughters, and they support that decision. And I also think that the federal government needs to be a better steward of American taxpayer dollars, and they need to look at where they're forwarding those American taxpayer dollars.
Tina Rosenberry from Palm Beach County asked, how would you change the DREAM Act?
Well, first of all, I need to see the DREAM Act again. But look, let's not put the cart before the horse. If we, first of all, don't secure our borders, if we don't enforce our laws, why are we going to start offering things before we take care of those things? You know, Ronald Reagan back in 1986 had an amnesty program. And what was contingent upon the amnesty program was the federal government would secure the borders and enforce their immigration laws. We still have not done that. So why do we continue to want to put the carrot out there? Why do we continue to want to put the cart before the horse? Illegal immigration is a situation that can end up destroying this country. It's a national security issue. It's an economic issue. It's a law enforcement and local criminality issue. It's an education issue. It's a healthcare issue. And if we don't start getting this thing under control, it will bring this country down. So once we get it under control, once we get an understanding of this thing called illegal immigration in the United States of America, once we're able to come up with a viable solution where we can work with our agricultural industry and make sure we don't decimate the workforce that they need and require, then we can start talking about some of the other things we want to do that are positive aspects. But don't do that first and foremost, because I guarantee you're just going to have a continual flood of people that will come here and they will set up station here in the United States of America. One of the most important things we need to do with the immigration process, we got to do better in refining our visa systems over in these foreign countries. A lot of people are coming here, you know, the back door way because it is so hard to get here in the front door way. So let's make sure we grease the hinges on the front door so people can come here in the right and proper way.
Well, related to that is a question from Andrew Gatos. How would you address current immigration crisis with foreign students coming for school, then leaving? What about families?
Well, look, once again, if you are coming here and you are overstaying your visa, you just broken our laws. So why are you asking me to take into consideration people that didn't respect the laws of this republic? Now, I'll be very honest. If people come here to the United States of America, I want to keep that intellectual capacity here. I want to keep that talent here as best as I possibly can. I don't want to see it go overseas or somewhere else and then it's used against us or it becomes a competitor for us. But we need people that respect who we are. Remember, the 9/11 conspirators were here on these student visas. We still have a problem with a lot of people that get student visas and they never show up on college campuses. But I want to reward the people that are here for the right reason. So that's why I stand as far as foreign students coming here for education. I want them to stay. Heck, these guys that come here and, you know, go to our universities and you know, get track scholarships and everything, I'd like for them to run for the United States of America instead of going back in the Olympics and running for all these other countries and whipping us in the Olympics. After they come here and get all of our, you know, resources and training facilities. So I want to promote America first, and I'd like to retain as much of the talent from all across the world, because that's why people came here, to develop their talent and be utilized in a free, democratic country.
Donald Kaiser from Boynton Beach asks, why hasn't Speaker Bader brought the E-Verify legislation to the floor for a vote?
Well, I can tell you, nobody wants to touch illegal immigration right now. I'll be very honest. Because, you know, for whatever reason, they think it's a political hot potato. I know there's some people over on the Senate side are looking at doing something with the DREAM Act, and we'll see which way that goes. But, you know, I'll have to ask the Speaker when I get back up there next week if he ever plans on bringing it. Ask the majority leader. But I can tell you right now, you know, those contentious things such as that, not too many people looking at bringing that up. And look, let's be very honest, okay? It's an election year, and people are worried about certain constituencies and what have you. This is what I want us to start doing. Let's stop looking at America as collectives. This group and that group and this group. We need to start talking to the American people as American people. And stop worrying about appeasing and pandering to certain groups. Let's talk to people about the future of this country. Let's talk to people about that number up there. That's the most important thing.
Eric Carson from Jupiter says, as a Vietnam-era vet, I cannot access any of my promised benefits because my wife makes too much money. My wife isn't the vet I am. Do I have to get divorced to get my benefits?
No, Barry, stay married, okay? Come and see us in the office. But, you know, Barry brings up an even bigger question. I mean, we're talking about the fiscal year 2013 budget that the president submitted. They're talking about tripling TRICARE health care rates on our veterans. That's not how we reward people that were willing to give 20 plus years of their lives to serve this great nation, or individuals that have lost a limb or something along those lines. So come by and see us. We will take care of that. We will become the squeaky wheel that will eventually get work. Okay.
Suzanne Falcone from Boynton Beach asks, what's being done to stop the implementation of UN Agenda 21?
Well, for those of you that don't know, Agenda 21 for the United Nations is really about us losing our sovereignty in many ways. If you look at the Law Sea Treaty, where the United Nations takes over a lot of our waterways and things of that nature, that's not going to happen. I mean, I do not see us ever sitting around and allowing the United Nations to subsume the sovereignty of the United States of America. Now, if things try to happen by executive order or that type of fiat, we'll just have to be very closely watching that to ensure it doesn't happen. I know that a lot of people are concerned about this executive order that was just recently signed that talks about the president has the authority to bring in all the resources of the United States of America even during peacetime. There's a resolution that expresses the sense of Congress that rejects that and stands against it. That was introduced by my colleague from Florida, Sandy Adams. I signed on to that, and I believe we should be able to get that brought into the House floor next week.
A little closer to home than the UN, Gail Lavin Authority asks, what's happening with the permit applied for regarding dumping fill into the water at Old Port Cove and Lost Tree Village communities?
I cannot answer that, but if you come see my staff, we'll find out about it. You got me. Okay, I try to stay up on everything, but I don't know about dumping in Lost Tree Village, but we'll find out.
Robert Lesser from Jupiter says a study was done a couple of years ago by some government agency to identify wasteful and duplicative spending.
Oh, that's the GAO. That's the GAO report that's done every February. Last February it came out there was $200 to $300 billion of redundant and duplicative programs in Washington, D.C. And I've been making a stink about that ever since I heard about it. As a matter of fact, when I go on set with Greta Van Susteren, Greta keeps that GAO report on her desk. And she is waiting for someone to take it up and do something about it. And that's why you got to send the right people up there that's going to really tackle this situation. $200 to $300 billion of redundant and duplicative programs. That's a start. No one has that political will to tackle.
Joe Clark from Wellington says that Justice Kagan was Solicitor General and wrote arguments for Obamacare. Shouldn't Justice Kagan recuse herself? Not to do so would be biased and discriminatory, and I might as well ask the flip side, shouldn't Justice Scalia do the same?
I'm not on the Supreme Court. Really, that's probably an issue that the Senate Judiciary Committee should take up. I would think that if you are honorable, a person of impeccable character, if you believe that you can have some type of undue influence, maybe you should recuse yourself. But I can't sit up here and tell people what to do on the Supreme Court side of the House. We're supposed to be co-equal branches of government. Unfortunately, I think that the president forgot about that yesterday. But that's okay.
Jim Hunter from West Palm Beach asks, what's happening with H.R. 3991 as it relates to labor unions? Any concerns?
Well, first of all, there are a lot of numbers that go through my head. So, Jim, afterwards, can you come up and tell me what the H.R. 3991 is? Can at least give me a title, and then we can discuss it as far as union impacts. Is that what it? I'm panning the crowd. Where is it? Are you there? Okay. Yeah, just talk to me afterwards.
Okay. Animal welfare, House Bills 198 and 2492. We're doing the numbers here.
Well, I think I'm doing okay with the Humane Society. I think the last count I had a 63-64% rating with them as far as voting on animal rights issues. So once again, let me know the exact specific piece of legislation that you're talking about. But if it's something that's absolutely knuckleheadish and heinous, I think I'm probably well signed on it.
Michael Foster from Lake Park asks, why do you believe that your opinions supersede the expressed views and wishes and concerns of a majority of your constituents?
Well, first of all, I don't deal with opinions. I just deal with assessments, and I give you the truth. And I don't think that it does supersede the majority of the people that elected me to go to Washington, D.C. and be their representative. There are two very varying philosophies in the United States of America, ideologies. I believe in economic freedom. I don't believe in economic dependency. I believe in individual sovereignty. I don't believe in the collective. I believe in empowering an individual and not enslaving an individual. I believe in a constitutional republic and not a bureaucratic nanny-state. I believe in the writings of our founding fathers and the documents thereof, and that's what I stand for. And anytime you want to sit and debate me as far as my visions, my assessments, the things that I'm voting on, I'd be happy to do it.
Sent in another question, I think, or maybe it's a different Mr. Hunter, who asks about attempts to legally do away with the Electoral College via interstate compacts, the National Popular Vote Compact, whereby electoral votes will be allocated proportionally. What can be done about this, and what's your opinion?
Well, I can tell you this year, no one's going to be bringing up anything to get rid of the Electoral College. You know, and once again, I think the most important thing, we got to stay focused on what really is the danger for this country. That. If we don't get that under control, I mean, it doesn't matter about the Electoral College. It doesn't matter about animal rights. You will have a country that is so far in debt. It's a country that its fiscal security, and its national security, and its energy security is at risk right now. Those are the three aspects of our security that I'm really and truly focused on. Everything else is important, yes, absolutely right, because I represent you. But I got to stay focused on that thing right there. And I have to stay focused on a very volatile, unstable world, especially the fact when we keep cutting back and reducing the strength of our United States military. That's the thing that keeps me awake at night, not whether or not we're going to have an electoral college. And I just have to apologize for that.
The next two are actually more comments, but I should bring them to your attention. Dan Roberts says, deal with protesters against needed budget cuts. You care to comment? Deal with protesters against needed budget cuts.
Deal with the protesters.
That's against needed budget cuts. I guess I would assume like protests in Greece or if things like that happen in this country.
Okay, well, I don't know what you mean, and maybe you should take a class in subject-verb agreement, because
we have those here.
I can't figure out what that statement says.
And Linda Balo notes that she brought 2012 Alzheimer's Association figures for you. That's kind of an FYI, I suppose. Julie Dunstan from Jupiter asked, based upon the overwhelming evidence by Sheriff Joel's cold case posse that the ID documents of the presidents are forged, is that not worthy of a congressional investigation?
No. I'll be very honest. Once again, I got to stay focused. I don't care where the president was born. I care about the direction that this country is heading. Now, if you want me to go running off chasing, all of these other different things, then I lose focus on that. And how do we rectify that? Then I lose focus on the fact that, a year ago, when we asked Hosni Mubarak to step down in Egypt, now we've got a place that's controlled by radical Islamic groups and the Muslim Brotherhood. How many people know about the 19 hostages that were being held in Egypt? How do you think they got released? Okay. The United States government gave them $5 million, American taxpayer dollars. They didn't come and ask the Congress about it. They just went ahead and cut the check. A couple of weeks ago, when the Egyptian government said, if you don't give us our $1.2, $1.3 billion of foreign aid, we're going to go against Israel. We did not go through the Foreign Relations Committee, Subcommittee on Appropriations. We sent them that aid. That's the thing that I have to worry about. How many people here know what Scarabeo 9 is? Scarabeo 9 is a Chinese-made oil rig that, thanks to a Spanish company called Repsol, now sits 55 to 60 miles off of the coast of Key West, Florida. Drilling in waters deeper than Deepwater Horizon. Scarabeo 9 does not meet any specifications of an American oil rig. That's what I need to be focused on. And that's what I need to come out and share with you all so that you can be better informed. Don't go chasing down in the rabbit hole. Because I got to tell you something. That's what the other side wants you to do. And then you lose focus. Because that's what they want to see me say on tape. So then they can come back and say, oh, this is a radical. He's a knucklehead. He's worried about the president from Kenya. Well, I ain't worried about the president from Kenya. I'm worried about the daggone president and all the debt that he's bringing on the United States of America. I'm worried about the diminished global influence that we have in the world right now. And I can tell you that I was told that when I sat down with the leadership of the United States Strategic Command, which is responsible for looking at the global security situation of this country. This is not a joke. I know that people here laughing and shaking their head. I challenge you to walk in the shoes that I've walked. Because I'm not going to see my country go into decline over this liberal progressive ideology, which show me anywhere in the world it has ever been successful.
Jackie Hanley from Port St. Lucie asks, what will you do to repeal the Stand Your Ground law?
Well, first of all, okay, once again, I guess we need to have a lesson in federalism.
We teach that too.
I am the United States representative. Stand Your Ground was passed in the state of Florida. Do you want the United States representative to come down and start telling the state what type of laws they should have?
No.
I think that's a violation of the Constitution called the 10th Amendment.
Correct.
See, that's my concern. The people are asking me questions that kind of make me a little nervous about the level of competency that we have in our electorate in the United States of America. Stand Your Ground law is something you should be talking to your state representative and your state senator about. You should not be talking to me about it. And furthermore, I am absolutely appalled that the tragedy that happened in Sanford, Florida, has now been hijacked by irrational voices that want to use it for an ideological agenda.
Yep.
A young man lost his life. That's what we should be focused on. Not trying to destroy our country based upon race. Not trying to attack laws that have been passed in this state. If you got a concern about the laws, take it up with your state representative and state senator. But get focused on what really happened there. I guarantee you, no one cares about the 13-year-old African-American male that at the same time Trayvon Martin was shot, he was shot in the head down in West Palm Beach, along Tamarind. He's sitting at St. Mary's Hospital in a coma. So what makes him less important than what happened to Trayvon Martin? I'll tell you what makes it more important. People want to use it for their own ideological agendas. But let me tell you something, that's sickening. And they should be ashamed of it.
Congressman, I want to thank you. We got through all of one of the questions that I have, and I want to thank you for taking them unfiltered and unedited. My last question is from a colleague at Palm Beach State College, a fellow runner, and Stephanie Arsh wants to know, what is your best half-marathon time?
My best half-marathon time was when I was a whole lot younger. Back, I think it was 2003, 2004, and it was 1 hour and 47 minutes. If I did that now, there'd be some people in the Democrat Party very happy because I would drop dead at the finish line. Much the same as Phidippides did when he ran the marathon back to Athens. So again, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for